Hi Karen, this is your tutorial for Bach's Minuet in G major, and we have set up the camera this way so that you can see my hands and not my face, but here I am. We're going to start by playing both hands separately so you can see the fingering and the articulation, the movement and everything that I do in each hand very clearly. And then I will break it down for you even further as to how to practice those transitions, and then we will put hands together, okay? So, first of all, the tempo is quarter note equals 120. This is what it sounds like. So it's not very fast. It's a dance, right? It's a waltz. 2, 3, 1, 3. The pulse is on 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So put on that ballet dancer hat of yours, and remember that the pulse, the strength, the stress is on 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, here we go. Now at the end you notice that I wasn't in strictly keeping the tempo, right? Because we're winding down towards the end of the dance. So I retardandoed, which is what I will do in the left hand also. Now, how to practice the right hand? Well, remember how we always practice transition to transition, which means that you're transitioning from one hand position to a different hand position. And at the same time, you want to remember where your line is, right? You're not going to play chop, 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 right? You want your line to have momentum upwards. Even the music, the line is literally going up, right? And then the line here descends. So you have very clear ascending lines and you have very clear descending lines, and you really want to emphasize that. So here we go, phrasing and articulation, right? So how did my hand move? It literally moved into the keyboard, right? That diagonal motion where we're going up, and I'll do it again. Now here we're moving up and down, so you've got to remember to revolve, to rotate your wrist, right? See, my wrist was moving all over the place. In little circles, right? Almost like this, like a ballerina pivoting on her toes. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to do in terms of phrasing, and think about each phrase. Bach has given you those phrase markings, and you should honor them. Now on the second line, you have 3 different phrase markings in there. Are you really going to do probably not, because that would really break up the line. So you need to make that all one long descending line. So not only did I descend with the pressure that I'm using in my fingers, I also descended with my dynamics, right? I got softer. I decrescendoed. Okay, so in terms of practicing transitions, transitional hand positions, I would probably do it like this. And stop, right? That's one transition, then do that 5 times. And the 5th time, continue on. And stop, and so on. So go to each hand position change, each transition, and practice just to that transition, stop, and then do it 5 times and go on. So that by the time you've gotten to the end of the page, you've done each phrase like 30 or 40 times. So you're building your muscle memory, okay? I'm not going to take the time to do that here because it would take a long time. But that's the idea, right? To hear, one long line. And then it basically repeats, right? To hear, a little different. Now the same idea on the next page. Next page starts very quietly. It's piano, right? So we start. A little tricky. So I would probably break that down and do this. One transition. And do that 5 times, right? And then go on. Do that 5 times. And then on the 5th time, keep going. And so on, right? So we're always practicing to the next transition. Now, one thing that I want to emphasize here is that you are going between quarter notes, which are longer, and eighth notes, which are shorter. Now, don't make that mistake that we all make, where we go from a quarter note that's long, and then to an eighth note, which is short, and emphasize that, right? We don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear that the emphasis is actually on one. Right? So my emphasis is on one, and I use that line to build. And so on throughout the whole piece, even here on the second page, right? Staccato, staccato, long. Right? And in the end, I would start my ritardando at the beginning of the penultimate measure. If you start all the way back here at the beginning of the line, it's going to be too slow, too soon, and you won't have anywhere to go. So you have to go here in tempo and slow down there to the end. Okay, left hand. Yes, the last note is staccato, but we're coming to the end. So I'm holding it so that the two hands can come off together. It would sound funny, I think, if you played. That's too abrupt. So I think it needs to be a little more ponderous there. Okay. Now I made a mistake in here, right? The mistake I made, I don't remember where it was, but it was making that second beat too loud. I don't remember where I did it, but you probably heard it. Was it here? Is that what I did? Don't do that, right? It's the weight is here. There, long line, long line. Short, short, long line. So how am I making that long line? It's very hard to do when you're only playing one note, right? But we actually use our body. Look where my arm is, right? I'm leading my hand down the scale, right? So that I have the momentum downward and I have the momentum to create a long line. Otherwise it would just be da, 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 right? Don't pulse like that. Da, da, da. That's what we don't want to do. You want to have da, long line down. Da, 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 staccato, long line here, and then to here. Okay, transitions. Same thing as in the right hand, right? When you have a hand position that changes, you're going to practice just to that transition. So here, and stop. Da, 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 and stop. And on the fifth time, keep going. That's all one hand position. Did you notice? Now you change. You've got to put a 2 there. So a lot of the left hand here is the same position. This is all one position. Here's the trick. Change to 2. And then it's the same. There you cross over. And at the end it's just 2 octaves, right? D, D, G, G. I'm going to play both hands together, but then I still want to talk more about musicality and balance between the two hands. Because what we see here in this piece is a lot of repetition, right? Deliberately. You hear this. You hear it once, and the exact same thing comes right back. Now, you probably wouldn't want to play that the exact same way both times because your listener's going to get bored. And you know what else? Then he repeats it. So not only are you hearing that twice, you're going to hear it 4 times. I'm not going to play the repeats for you. But that's a lot of times, and you want to vary it. Otherwise, your listener is going to be incredibly bored, and you will be too. So what I would do is you have a few choices. Either you can play this the same way the first time through and then vary it the second time through. You can do that through balance in your hands, meaning which voice are you bringing out more? Are you bringing out the right hand more? Or are you bringing out the left hand more? You can do that. You can vary it through dynamics. Maybe the first time is louder and the second time is or you can do a combination of these things. Now, Bach has already told us that he wants us to play the first time through mezzo forte and the second time through mezzo piano. So he's already telling us how to vary it a little bit. He's telling us louder, softer. Okay, so that means the second time through, we have to do something even different, right? Otherwise, we're going to do the same thing twice. So here's my idea. Here's your tempo again. Ba da 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 dum bum. Ba da 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 dum bum. Da 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 da. Okay, I'm going to turn that off because I want you to hear what I'm doing here. The first time I play the melody, the motif, I'm going to bring it out on my right hand. The second time I play it, I'm going to be much softer. When I play the repeat, I'm going to bring out the left hand more than the right hand, and we'll see what happens. Okay? It's an experiment. Mezzo forte. Mezzo piano. Now here's the repeat. I could do this. Where I'm playing the left hand with more emphasis. So that's one option, right? Is to bring out the right hand sometimes more and the left hand sometimes more. I kind of like that. But that's for you to figure out. But remember to keep it different, right? Otherwise it just gets too boring. Now, even when you're playing mezzo forte or mezzo piano, we still have to honor the dynamics, right? The decrescendos, the crescendo, the decrescendo, the articulation markings. None of that goes away, even when we're playing very loudly or very softly, right? So let's practice that a little bit. Here's the right hand. I'm starting louder and getting softer. Now I'm starting softly, but I'm still going to make all those markings, right? Here I'm getting louder, and here I'm loud. Right? So don't forget that even if you're playing very softly or very loudly, you still have to honor those dynamic changes and the articulation markings. The other thing we have to honor is rests, right? And I may not have been doing that so well because I'm basically sight reading the piece, but these rests in here are very important, right? So let's play the second page and honor those rests and the dynamics and the articulation markings and the long lines. So many things to remember, right? Okay. Remember that the first time you play this through, you will keep that in tempo. The second time you play it through, you will retard at the end, okay, because you're signaling this is the close of the piece. So, both hands together. Let's give it a try. Oops. Now notice there were two places that I was not in strict time with the metronome. The first was right here at bar 25, and the second was, of course, at the end, which we've talked about. Now at bar 25, there's a little bit of a change. There's a lyricism in the left hand. I wanted to bring that out. And I thought the second time I would play it, that I would bring it out also by taking a little Luftpause, which is a little pause before I started that section, so it didn't just rush into it, okay? So I did this, going from bar 21. Right, I took a little time. And that's where having the metronome is not helpful because it can't move with you, right? There's no flexibility. So those are some of my ideas for Minuet in G. And I hope that's helpful for you. And I'm really excited to hear what you come up with. And if you have questions for me, email me or text me or reach out by sending a video and saying, I'm stuck here, I need your help, etc. I'd love to hear from you, and I really can't wait to hear how you've interpreted this. Bye, Karen. See you soon.